Okay, so here we are playing Vampire Prince of the City, just about to start. I've cut the strategy deck and the top card's an event. And the best way to get into this is just to start playing, really. It's a simple enough game, the rules are just hard to cope with. So this is going to be a federal investigation. It's got a territorial challenge. I forgot to explain those. Territorial challenges mean that the players add the number of territories that they control rather than another attribute. It's got a difficulty of 21. That's the number that would have to be equaled or exceeded in order to get rid of this event. Government security agents lock down the city's facilities, causing frustration for many kindred. The effect: each player must choose and discard one of his or her activation cards from play during the resolution phase. This means that nobody's going to play the activation cards until this is dealt with. And the reward or penalty: the main acting player gets 4 personal prestige. Each assisting player gets 3. So there's a pretty good reason for people to try to take this down. It's worth a lot of points. The problem is nobody has any territories right now. So it's probably going to sit out there for at least a turn or two. I have to decide how long I want to play. I'm not really too thrilled with playing this at this point. So I'm just going to play 6 turns. I've got a huge backlog of videos. We'll see. That's what I played in a 2-player game. I think probably there's more depth to a longer game of this, but it may not feel that way. I know that with some things like Twilight Imperium, I said, oh my god, I just want this over with. You know, it didn't feel like it got any more interesting as time went on. So I think it's best to play this short and see what we get. Okay, well, let's take a look at where we start here. We're on the resource phase. I'm going to just at random select the Daiva as our initial regent, essentially. And as usual in games like this, I go around counterclockwise instead of clockwise. So they get 2 resource actions, and they're going to draw a card for their first one. And that's kind of cool. Add 3 points to social attribute. I think they'll play that face up. Their social is very good already, but you know, I might as well. And I'll draw a second card. Community leader, retainer, add 3 to your score on any influence contest over a community zone. Sounds like a good idea to put this up too. It gives me an advantage in one area of the game. Oh, there's some moderate valued areas there, and community. I don't know what community. I think it's green because this looks green, but it's not. That's just the type of card. So community is blue. That's going to be down here. There's not a lot of political influence there, but with that bonus, I should be able to grab those areas pretty easily. Okay. Now remember, the other options I had are less interesting to me. Hunting, I can't take. I'm at full blood. Consuming, I'm at full blood. And I'm not in torpor. So basically the only thing I can do with these guys is draw cards right now. I want to take my jacket off because it's interfering with my ability to deal. Oh! With that second card, actually before he played it, we had another event show up, which may make him choose to hold that. This is a Leech Troublemaker. Event, physical difficulty 21. A powerful vampire attacking local kindred for their blood. During the resolution phase, all players roll a die. The player who rolls the lowest loses a vitae. And this is also a 4/3. This is a physical attack with a 21. And again, might be something that a number of the players want to get rid of, because there is a prestige advantage to it. Okay, let's go to the Nosferatu. They're also going to draw. Sewers. If you control the sewers, you can bid influence tokens in any one zone in the influence phase, ignoring normal range. I'm going to hold this for 2 reasons. One, it's an activation card, which is going to be a problem from the one event. And two, I don't own the sewers. And three, I can discard this to add or subtract one from the score of a die, as long as it's a face-down card. I'll draw another one. Discard from play to add 5 points to any player's score for an influence contest. I think I'll hold on to this too. I don't want to reveal that because that's going to be more powerful later in the game. I could use that right away, but I don't want to jump out and get that. Over to the Ventrue, Master Strategist. This is a strategy card in particular. During resolution, count 1 extra personal prestige for each strategy card you have in play, including this one. See, I want to hold this because that's valuable at the very end of the game to get me victory points, but at this point, it actually just is going to make me a target. And it also has that discard bonus, but I'd say that's a powerful card that I wouldn't want to do that. The Business Tycoon gives me an influence over the business people. I will play that retainer, because I like that. And now the Gangrel are going to draw cards as well. Chinatown, this is an activation. Remember, we can't play activations really right now. But it gives him a place he wants to go, and it gives him an extra die. You can re-roll a single die once during each physical challenge. I guess you have some gang or something. An Inside Informant. Discard from play as one of your resource actions and select an influence token and play on the board. I don't want to play this yet because I'm out of actions. We have an event again. Vitae Curse. There's a mental difficulty, 24. There's a disease. Reducing many kindred to weak and helpless. Local kindred look to their leaders for a clue. Effect. Everybody's going to lose an additional vitae during the resolution phase. And this is a 5/4. Now this one, like the Leech Troublemaker, is something that I think people really do want to take care of early on. These are dangerous problems. And finally the Mechat. Refrigerated Flask, discard from play at any time to immediately gain 1 vitae. He's going to play this face up. Those can be useful at any point, and you really want them in play. And Media Sector, another activation. He doesn't want to play an activation here, but this gives a bonus to the personal prestige anytime you successfully participate in an event or challenge. Now these activation cards, like Media Sector, you have to actually control the Media Sector for this to work. So it gives him goals as well as a bonus if he achieves those goals. Okay, now we're going to move into the actual play of the turn. I want to take a little pause here. First of all, I have no dice at hand, but we're going to be hitting the movement phase, and everybody's going to think about where they want to go based on their cards that they hold and their interests in the game. Remember, different areas have different value. You'll see, one person had this community sector as a bonus. Well, that's really cheap in value compared to some of these other sectors that maybe it would be more valuable to push some influence into. Alright. Okay, for this first turn, I'll go into a little bit more detail on the decision making, on the movement, etc. So, essentially, everybody has the same advantages towards gaining territories beyond their cards. Obviously, the bonus of getting influence contests in the community center, and the community center is this green stuff, is nice. But I don't want to force myself to only be there. So because it's a kind of low value area, they're twos, I'm going to drop myself here where I have access to some important 3-point areas as well. And should be able to push my influence into the greens from there. that seems valuable. Another option would be to back up over here and get into the synagogue. But that would give me less ability to influence the greens. So I'm going to go to the morgue, which seems like a good place. Let's look at the Nosferatu. And in the end, they want the sewers, which are over here, but those are terribly valueless. So they're going to go, again with the same kind of goal, into the financial sector, where they can kind of influence what they want, but also some things that are worthwhile. Over to the Ventru, who have the business tycoon. They like the business zone. That's purple. That's this section right here. Now here's the problem for them. The nosy fur are already there. They have vigor, which allows them to be good at physical challenges. The Ventru aren't terribly good at physical challenges for whatever reason. They're mainly good at social. If you look at the different gains here, the physical is clearly the more dangerous of the two. There's no way I can actually be in the financial sector without being in range of him. I could drop here, but then I'm in range of him. So I'm going to put myself as well in the financial sector. He's in my area as far as I'm concerned. On to the Gangrel. Obtainer's not terribly helpful. Chinatown is of interest to the Gangrel. Chinatown's down here. Unfortunately, that's not terribly worth things elsewhere, but we're going to go into the museum district, where we can influence Chinatown, City Hall, the gallery circuit, and get kind of into a lot of places. And now we get here to the Meket, and they want the media sector, which is over here. There's valuable stuff kinda here. Media sector is definitely worthwhile. This puts them in a position where they're in less of a challenge with other players than if they go right into that. And they would rather build up their own strength than fight directly. Okay, so that's the movement decisions that were made. And now we go to the challenges. And the Deva have the first challenge. And here, really, you're going to start seeing a certain level of negotiation, because there's these important event issues which face really everyone. In particular, the worst is this Vitae curse, which is going to cost us 2 Vitae each. This is a mental challenge. The Deva aren't terribly good at mental. So if they announce this challenge, they may have trouble getting the support that they want for. So let's look at the next one. Physical. That's not terribly easy for them either. They have nothing else to do though, and there's a possibility, there's 3 people here, there's a possibility who aren't next to anything and can't likely challenge anything. There's a possibility that we could clear all of them, but there's also a possibility these 2 will fight, or a likelihood that they'll fight. So it seems important to try to get one out of the way. I can back down out of a challenge before dice are rolled and before anything is expended, So I'm going to go after the most important one, this mental difficulty 24, the Vitae curse. And I'm seeking help, pretty much from anyone who will give it. Now, here's the problem. Are there people who are so much better suited to it that they can almost guarantee a victory? Because let's look at what we have. We have 3, 9, 14, plus 1 die. Doesn't sound like it can do it. Let's look again here. Because I'm saying the Nosferatu and the Ventrue are going to go in for it. They're afraid that they're going to fight each other. So we'll say 9, 14, as I said. Can we convince the Gangrel and the Mechit to go in? The Mechit think, I'm the better person to lead this, and I probably want to withhold. Because why should I give the bigger points to them? So let's say the Gangrel. I'm not sure the Gangrel terribly want to be in it either. So now it's a 14 in favor. And nobody's really got anything to help here, do they? This is a mental challenge. None of the special abilities even really affect that, do they? Territorial event, resilience. So here the question becomes, is there something I can give? The answer is no, not really. So I would need a 10 to succeed. I'm going to back down from this challenge, and it just doesn't happen. There's no penalty and no success. Not that there couldn't be a penalty anyway, so we'll go ahead with it. On a 10 we succeed. Might as well. And it's a 2, it's not successful. If this had actually failed, everybody on attempting to attack it would lose influence equal to the risk here. But some of if you don't have any, and nobody has any yet, you don't lose anything. Okay, so now we go to the Nosferatu. And do they want to do a challenge against the Ventrue? They see no reason not to. To tell you the truth, they're very good physically. In fact, very good physically. So what they're going to do... what can you take in a physical challenge? Not much. So yeah, I'm going to attack him physically. Now, can he do anything? He can try to keep his Vitae. Okay, so we're going to spend a Vitae to make an attack with an extra die on it. And that'll be 2 dice against 1, 7 against 3, so I've got +4 on those 2 dice. And I very easily win. That means I'm going to take, 3 Vitae, because he has no equipment cards I want. So I'm going to take 3 Vitae from the Ventrue. And the Ventrue gets to roll for each of those. On a 6 or more, they don't lose it. And they don't lose 2 of them, but they lose 1. Over to the Nosferatu. Okay, well, that wasn't much of a challenge, so now we go to the Ventrue themselves. And do they want to do a social challenge, which they're much, much better at? They could steal a retainer or up to 2 personal prestige. There's nothing there of value. So they're going to look to the events. And we already looked at this. This was mental. We really want a social challenge here. But we can go for the Leech Troublemaker, who's a 21, with a physical challenge. Is there anyone who's upset about this? The Gangrel almost certainly don't want to play this. And the Mecha are kind of saying, hey, we've been cutting a deal with the Gangrel as far as I can see. We'll stick with them here. So we're seeing a physical here of 3, 10, 14. To reach a 21, they only need a 7 though. And that's not too bad. So people are going to go for this. Nobody has any prestige at the line anyway. They only get a 3. Everybody would get penalized. We go on to the Gangrel. They want to do this physical challenge. Everyone's willing to jump in on it. But are there people that are willing to cut out of it? They may be willing to cut the Deva out. 3, 11... and maybe the Ventru. 11, 18. Yeah, they're going to only allow the Mecha to the Nosferatu to be here. It's at an 18. This is just the Leech Troublemaker. 19, 20, not high enough. So that stays, and the penalty would have been assessed. And people are grumbling at this point. Now the Mecha want to do a challenge, and theirs is they want to do the mental against the Vitae curse. So they have a 7. They're definitely bringing the Gangrel at 11. They can get up to 22 without adding the Diva. They feel like the Diva particularly were taunting them by doing this, so that's what they're doing, including everyone except the Diva. And they get a successful roll. So this one's gone away, and I have to assign the prestige. The Mecha will get 5, everyone else will get 4, and that curse is gone. I've got to put the camera down because of the bag in my hand. Okay, now we're in the influence phase. And at this point, again, starting with the Regent, you work your way around and make bids on how much you want certain locations. So everybody's going to start off with a base of 3 influence markers from their pool. In the 2-player game, it's 5. And you get additional influence markers to bid with if you control whole colored zones. You know, so for example, this entire business district, all the purple areas, if you owned every single one of them, you would get an additional token. So there's reasons to consolidate your power. And we said that it's very important in the 2-player game. Here, it's probably going to be harder to get a lot of extra tokens for it. Alright. So the Diva looks and says, there are places I can play no one else can play. For example, the police department. I'm going to bid the police department. No one can challenge me there. There's no one adjacent. No one's in the blue. So guess what? I have just gained control. Oh, you know what I got to do? I got to score the points on the prestige. So the Nosferatu, the Diva were left out. The Mecha got 5, and everyone else got 4. Okay, so now the police department with its 3 prestige has gone to the Diva, and they get 3 additional prestige for that. Okay, and now they have a presence in that area, as well as, so if they could move out of it later, they could end up actually still placing in here, even if they did. Alright. So let's go to the next one. which is the Nosferatu. And they're in kind of a complex situation because they're fighting with the Ventrue in terms of location. They would like to get some of these business sector areas, but they've got a problem, which is with this business tycoon. That's too big an advantage, and they really can't fight against it. So they're going to place their bid in the cathedral. Now, the bid actually doesn't go in the cathedral yet. That's where established counters will go. Now, here's the question. Do the Ventrue want to fight over this? It's a tough call, really. They would love to own it. It's high value. It's their way of inserting themselves into the religious district. But the business district is more important to them right now. Overall, they have more bonuses. I'm going to roll a die and see. They're going to let the Nosferatu get this, and no one else can stop them. So that's established, and that's a 4-point gain in prestige for the Nosferatu. Now, we go to the Ventrue, and they've made their decision. They're going to expand into the financial center, and if I can find the circle for that. Gosh, it doesn't seem to exist. It's got to be here somewhere. There it is. These are very hard to see. That's a 3-point advantage that they get. And the Nosferatu chose not to challenge them there. They had already made this decision largely that they're not going to expand into the purple areas, in part because they have to go first. Okay, to the Gangrel. The Gangrel are kind of on their own here, and they like Chinatown. They definitely do. They may not want to reveal that they like Chinatown, though, that's why they're here. And in fact, the best thing they have is City Hall, so they're going to place there. Now, this is something that Daiva can fight them over. Here's an interesting thing. The Daiva have this community zone bonus, but they're never going to get it because that's this area over here. I already have, I thought, oh, green, because these green cards, and I'll tell you, that happened all the time in my 2-player game as well, where the coloring on the cards was enough to confuse the hell out of me. I guess with more plays, maybe that wouldn't happen, but I'm constantly looking and saying, oh, this is a green leader, he'll affect the green area. Yeah, they're all green leaders. Okay. So, here's the thing. The Daiva can get away with guaranteed points by moving into areas they can reach. On the other hand, the Gangrel could have made this choice too, but here it's basically trying to get an extra prestige point over the Gangrel or over everyone really, by challenging in City Hall. To me, it seems not worth it, and I'm going to allow the Gangrel to get City Hall for the 3 points that provides. Backing down like that, dangerous, is it a bad idea? It's not always. In this case, my odds of improving are higher by not facing that. And in a way, the Gangrel was betting on that. I'll invade your area. Now, if you want to make it so each of us have a 50% chance of getting that, and a 50% chance of getting nothing, that's fine, but you'll be risking a token that you could be getting guaranteed results from. I like playing that way, and sometimes people will back down, sometimes they won't. With the Mecha, well, they're interested in the media sector. They're going to go for that. It's as valuable as anything else. But here's the problem. They're facing a more powerful opponent here, holding the business tycoon. Now, in order, people have to decide. Well, the Nosferatu have already decided they're not playing there. They're going to back down. But the Ventrue are not going to back down. This is one of the areas they're just perfectly interested in. So they're going to play a piece there. And they've got significant advantages already. Let's see what they have here. So each person is going to get a die for an influence token. Nobody has tokens in the media center, so those don't add dice. But the Ventrue are going to get +1, +4 to the dice because of their bonuses. That's almost another die. So here, the Mecha are going to throw another token in. They really want this. Now, here comes the problem. If the Ventrue don't throw another token in, they're at a disadvantage and they've got a token in. So they are also going to throw another token in. And now the Mecha have to decide, do I want to throw everything in for this? Well, if I don't win this, there's going to be 2 tokens in there for the Ventrue. So I think the die is cast there and they're going to throw in. So it's going to be 3 dice versus 2, but with a +4 on the Ventrue dice. And we've got some 10s here. So right now, it's 19 for the Meket, and 12 plus 4, 16. So it's a +3 bonus for the Meket, and I re-roll those 10s and add them. Now, here's the thing. Does anybody have an ability? He would have had to do this before the die roll, and it really was a good idea. He wanted to do it. But it's too late. I forget about the special abilities. It looks to me like the Meket won. That means their 3 tokens stay. The Ventrue lose both their tokens. And the media sector is now owned by the Meket, and they go up by 2. And that's the interesting part of the mechanics here. Whatever you bid stays there. So now they have more power in the media center than had they not been challenged. However, they have no additional outside power. Now we keep going around for some of the others. Let's take a look. The Diva, well, they want to keep expanding. It doesn't really help them terribly to take the risk of going into the university sector. There's a good chance the Gangrel might want that. They're fine placing in the medical center, and that'll get them 2 points. The Nosferatu say, bonus! Ventrue are out of tokens. I can play here, and I'm going to go in the corporate sector and get 2 points. The Ventrue have to pass. They got really hosed by their play. The Gangrel want to expand their power. Now, their next best place is actually the university. And again, they're putting this challenge right up there for the Diva. The Diva have something else they can use, and they're chickening out again. We go to the Meket, they're out of tokens. They played everything on the media center. Not that much better off than the Ventrue are. Fighting is dangerous, but they do have a really strong hold there. And now the final 2-point area is in the city courts for them, so they'll pick that up. No one can challenge them. We go to the Nosferatu. who actually want to get their presence here for a number of reasons, and they'll take the sewers for a point. The Gangrel are still in existence. Now, if you remember, the Gangrel won at Chinatown, but they also kind of want this gallery circuit. Either one's of interest. They're going to go for Chinatown. It's the less valuable of the two, but it puts them in a position where they're actually able to physically move more in this direction and try to gain controls there while they can still expand in these areas. So they've got a way to kind of write it off in a description. And that is everybody's expansion. Now we'd look, say, make sure all the points are correct, and they are. And then we move down to the next turn. And that'll... Oh, wait a minute. We forgot to discard this Vitae curse. Now, before we go to the next turn, we actually have to deal with these. There are no activation cards on the board. Nobody dealt with the federal investigation. But also, all players roll a die. The player who rolls the lowest loses a Vitae, ties re-rolled. Well, I'm just going to roll a single die for this. Yes, you could play cards to influence this. But 4, 9, the Meket are going to lose a point of Vitae. And that'll go over here in this pool. Okay. And yeah, now we're ready for the next turn. The Leech is not that big a deal. The other one, with everyone... Oh, now everybody loses 1. Because of the end of the day. But with everyone losing 2, that would have been really a painful effect on everyone. Now people are going to have to think about hunting because they've got this constant drain on their Vitae. And for example, had the Ventrue used one of their Vitae to fight the influence battle more effectively and gotten another die in that, they'd be down more. So it becomes harder and harder to draw cards in those kind of cases. But once you have, if you have retainers that you don't really need terribly well, they don't interest you that much, you can sacrifice them for 2 Vitae, and that's better than just getting 1, I guess. Alright, on to the next turn, and I'll load this up.